So now that we know an if structure, how about if we try our temperature conversion program version 3? We're going to prompt the user for input, but this time we're going to be able to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius or from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of pseudocode so that we can map out a plan. So what we're going to do on line 6, we're going to create some variables. On line 9, we're going to prompt for the conversion type. Then if they want to convert Celsius, we're going to prompt for the Fahrenheit temperature and convert. If they want to prompt to Fahrenheit, we'll prompt them for the Celsius temperature. And then finally, we're going to display the results. So now that I have a basic plan, the next thing that we're going to do is circle back around and add a little bit more detail. For instance, the conversion algorithms for Celsius and Fahrenheit, and what do I want my display of results to look like. Okay, so I decided on line 21 what I want my my display to look like. I decided on lines 13 and 17 what the formulas were to do those conversions. On line 9, I'm going to prompt for the conversion type. So the next thing that I need to know is what kind of variables should I create on line 6. So there's 3 places we can look for variables that my program will need: things that I'm prompting for, calculations that I'm using, and things that I am displaying to the user. Did I get that right? Things that I display, things that I calculate, and things that I prompt. And so the variables that I'm probably going to need are obviously Celsius and Fahrenheit, but there's actually one more because line 9 is prompting for a conversion type. All right, so I added those 3 variables that I think I'm going to need, and now we can actually begin filling in our pseudocode with our source code. I'm going to start with my variables. We will create a cell variable. We'll make them both cell and var variables floating points. This conversion type, I can't call it type because that is a keyword. What I can call it is conversion type, and I'm going to set it equal to just an empty string. All right, line 13, I am going to prompt them for the conversion type. I'm going to try to be as explicit in the prompt as possible. So press a capital C to convert to Celsius and capital F to convert to Fahrenheit. I had to move my output window over just a little bit so that I could see my entire print statement or my entire prompt. I'm just going to run the program now and see if it's working so far. There we go. It's converting for something, so it seems to be working so far. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, it says if Celsius, prompt for the Fahrenheit temperature and convert. So it seems to me there's 3 things that I need to do here. I need an if statement, and if it's Celsius, we're going to prompt for the Fahrenheit temperature and we're going to convert. So line 18 says if conversion type is equal to a capital C, but I also know that maybe their caps lock is stuck on, and so I'm going to say or conversion type is equal to, how about if we try a lowercase c? And then inside of there, 2 things. I'm going to prompt for a Fahrenheit temperature and then use my algorithm on line 17 to convert the temperature. So on line 19, I'm prompting for the Fahrenheit temperature. I'm typecasting it to a float, and then I'm putting that value in the variable var that we created on line 9, and then I am going to do the conversion. All right, so I added the conversion on line 20, and I'd like to test it, but it seems like I'm going to have to display my results first in order to see if that worked. So I'm going to come down here, and we are going to use a print with a string format, which I sometimes mistakenly call a print format. And since I took all of the time to type in what I wanted my print statement to say, I'm going to copy the whole entire thing. I'm going to paste it into my printf or my string format. And then I'm pretty sure that this value right here should not be hard-coded. That needs to be a variable. And the variable would be var. Now I tabbed over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one right here also needs to be a variable. I'm pretty sure that one is called Celsius. Now I would like to force some decimal places. It looks like my Fahrenheit is 2, my Celsius is 1. So if I want to force decimal places, I'm going to use the full colon followed by the 0.2, 2 decimal places on Fahrenheit. And then I'm going to use an F type, follow that by an F because Fahrenheit is a floating point value. I'm going to do the same thing with Celsius. I'll come over here and I will use the full colon followed by a 0.2, or if we only want to change it to 1, and then I'll put a F. So it'd probably be a good idea to have both my Fahrenheit and my Celsius showing with the same decimal places. So I'm going to change my Fahrenheit to 1. Now I should be able to run it, and I can test if the conversion type is a C. So let's type in a capital or a lowercase c. If it works, it's going to drop into the if statement on line 18, and it's going to prompt me for a Fahrenheit temperature. If that works, I am going to next do a conversion, and then it will skip all the rest of my comments until it gets down to the print statement. It's a good idea to run it, test it against some known values. 212 is the boiling point of water, and that converted to Celsius should be 100. There it is, telling me that's 100. Both of them are displaying with 1 decimal point. Let's try it again. I can do a lowercase c because my if statement, and then Fahrenheit temperature, the other one that I know of is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, is the freezing point of water, and that converts to 0 degrees Celsius. So there it is. I can see that it is 0 degrees Celsius. Once I have tested it, and I'm pretty sure that it's working, now I can do other strange and bizarre values, and the output that I get, I'm reasonably assured that it's working. If I would like to see the tabs, or excuse me, the comma separator between sets of 3 numbers, I can come back down into this printf statement or my string format, and in front of the 0.1, I'm going to put a comma. I'll do the same thing over here with Celsius. I'm going to put a comma, and that is going to tell the print statement to include commas if there are enough numbers to include it. So let's run it one more time. We can convert to Celsius only. I'm going to put in a pretty large Fahrenheit temperature, and now putting the comma in my string format here has allowed it to put commas in these very large numbers. And now that I'm reasonably assured that's working, how about if we do our if Fahrenheit prompt for Celsius temperature? So on line 25, if the conversion type is a lowercase or a capital F, I am going to put a full colon, tab in, and I'll say Celsius equals float input, enter a Celsius temperature to convert. I'm going to prompt it for the Celsius temperature, cast it to a float, and put it in the Celsius variable. And then the last thing that I need to do is to convert that Celsius value to Fahrenheit. All right, so I put in the conversion on line 27. I brought my display up just a little bit so I could see it, brought it up just a little bit, and I don't have to change my print statement at all. So now when I run it, I'm going to see if we can convert Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put a capital F. I'm going to put a Celsius temperature. Well, I'm pretty sure 0 degrees temperature. The freezing point of water should be 32 Celsius. Excuse me, 32 Fahrenheit. And I'm pretty sure that if I convert to Fahrenheit, that 100 degrees Celsius would be 212 Fahrenheit. So those two are working. Let me run it one more time. We're going to do a lowercase f just to make sure that my compound condition on line 25 is working for the capital or lowercase. And then I can put in a strange number and be reasonably assured that this is working. So I'm going to add one additional thing to this program real quick. Down at the bottom, I'm just printing the Fahrenheit and the Celsius value. But what happens if when I prompted them for a C or an F, they did not put in a C or an F? It seems like the only time that I would actually like to print this display is if they gave me the correct conversion type. So I'm going to leave that print statement there. And down on line 34, or below that print statement, I'm going to say something like, if the conversion type is equal to F or it's equal to C, then I want to print what is on line 32. Otherwise, I don't want to print it. So let's see if we can create that if statement. So I'm going to press this down just a little bit so that we can see it. So on line 34, I said if conversion type is equal to F or conversion type is equal to C, and then I copied line 32 and I pasted it inside of my if statement. But the problem with this is, what if it's not a lowercase f or a lowercase c? There has to be a better way to do that. Instead of conversion type lowercase f or conversion type uppercase f or conversion type lower, there would be 4 different possible options for me. So what I can do is I can say conversion type. If I could somehow force conversion type to be lowercase, then I could just compare it to a lowercase value and I wouldn't have to worry about the uppercase. So I'm going to say conversion type dot lower, lower with the parentheses. And what this is going to do is take conversion type, it's going to lowercase it, and then it's going to compare it to lowercase f. Let's do the same thing here, dot lower, and then I'm going to put the parentheses after lower. And so now it's going to lowercase conversion type, and it's going to compare it to a lowercase c. So this is a quicker way for me to compare it to cased values as opposed to typing in every possible case option. What if the word was yes, Y-E-S, or no? That's a lot of different possibilities. So let's run it. I know that if I do an F or a C, that it runs just fine. I got both of my print statements there, that's right. But if it's not an F or a C, what if they type in something that's not an F or a C? Well, it is going to print my statement on line 32, but the if statement on line 34 is going to skip. What if I wanted it to do something else? If they didn't give me the correct answer. So we're going to learn that I can have an if, and I can also have an optional else. Whenever the if does not run, the else will run. So here's an example. If they give me the correct conversion type, it is going to print their conversion on line 35. And I think for this to work, I'm going to comment out my test print statement on line 32. If they don't give me the correct conversion type, if my if statement is false, it is going to drop into the else, and it's going to give them a little bit of a scare. So now if they type in no, anything that's not an F or a C, it's going to threaten to shock them through their keyboard. I am just kidding.